Tonight, we're not here to prove anything. We're here to wonder. Some scientists believe the universe may be larger than we can imagine, and some philosophers ask a quieter question. If many versions of you could exist, how would you recognize a message from another one? As you listen, there's nothing to believe. Just let the ideas drift by, like thoughts before sleep. Let yourself settle into this moment. There's no rush, nothing to solve, just gentle curiosity about the nature of consciousness and the quiet ways your mind speaks to you. The room around you is safe. The temperature is comfortable. Your body knows how to rest, even as your mind explores these gentle questions about reality and possibility. Take a breath, slow and easy. Feel the air entering your lungs, filling your chest, then releasing softly into the space around you. Each breath is an anchor, keeping you grounded while we explore ideas that reach beyond the everyday. The first sign, repeating thoughts you didn't try to think. Sometimes a thought appears fully formed. It arrives like a leaf floating down onto still water. You weren't reaching for it. You weren't trying to create it. Yet there it is, complete and clear, resting in your awareness. These thoughts have a different quality than the ones you generate intentionally. When you deliberately think about something, you can feel the effort. You can trace the chain of reasoning. You know where the thought came from because you built it yourself, piece by piece. But these other thoughts arrive whole. They surface from somewhere deep within your mind, complete with insights you didn't consciously work toward. It's as if someone placed them gently into your awareness while you were looking elsewhere. Scientists call this the default mode network at work. This is a fascinating system in your brain that activates when you're not focused on the external world, when you're daydreaming or showering or taking a walk without any particular destination in mind. Your brain, even when resting, is constantly processing information, constantly connecting distant dots. It weaves together pieces of information from different times in your life, different experiences, different memories, creating new patterns and insights. Pattern completion is something your mind does automatically, without any conscious instruction. Like finishing a melody you've only heard once. Like recognizing a face from just the eyes. Your brain is exquisitely designed to find patterns, to complete pictures, to make sense of fragments. This happens beneath the surface of your awareness. While you're busy with the tasks of daily life, deeper processes are running continuously. Your brain links information across vast networks of memory and experience, subconsciously drawing connections that would take your conscious mind hours or days to work out. And sometimes, what surfaces feels like it came from somewhere else entirely. The thought is so clear, so complete, so different from your usual mental chatter, that it almost seems to have been delivered to you rather than created by you. But really, it's just the deeper parts of you, speaking upward. The vast unconscious mind, which processes millions of pieces of information every second, occasionally sends a message to the conscious you. A gift of understanding, a moment of clarity. Your brain is very good at connecting versions of yourself across time. Even if not across universes, it bridges the you from yesterday with the you of today. It links the you from childhood with the person you've become. It reaches toward the you that exists in potential, not yet realized. Think about how much you've changed over the years. The person you were at 7 years old had different fears, different dreams, different ways of understanding the world. The teenager you were saw everything through a lens colored by those particular years. And the you of 5 years ago would hardly recognize some of the thoughts you have today. Yet all these versions are connected. They're all you. And your brain holds all of them simultaneously, drawing on wisdom from each era of your life. These thoughts that arrive without invitation might simply be your mind showing you something it's been quietly understanding all along. Perhaps a part of you already solved a problem you're still consciously wrestling with. Perhaps some deeper wisdom, accumulated across all your experiences, is ready to share what it knows. There's no need to chase these thoughts, no need to analyze them or figure out where they came from. Just notice them the way you might notice clouds moving across an evening sky. Appreciate their arrival. Consider their message. Then let them drift onward, making space for whatever comes next. Sometimes the most profound insights arrive in the gentlest whispers. They don't announce themselves with fanfare. They don't demand attention. They simply appear, quiet and complete, waiting for you to notice them. And when you do notice, there's often a sense of recognition. Not surprise exactly, but a feeling of, oh, yes, I knew that. As if the thought was always there, and you're just now becoming conscious of it. This is your mind working in harmony with itself. The conscious and unconscious parts coordinating, sharing information, helping you navigate the complexity of existence. The second sign, familiar feelings in new situations. You walk somewhere new, yet your body feels calm as if it's been there before. The sensation is subtle but unmistakable. You step into a building you've never visited or walk down a street in a city you're exploring for the first time, and instead of the slight tension that often accompanies new experiences, you feel settled, comfortable, at ease. The air feels right. The light falls in a way that seems familiar. Your shoulders relax automatically, without any conscious decision to let go of tension. Your breathing deepens naturally. Your pace slows to something that feels like coming home rather than arriving somewhere foreign. This isn't quite the jolt of déjà vu, that uncanny sense of having lived this exact moment before. This is something softer, more subtle. A gentle recognition that exists more in your body than in your mind. You might not be able to explain it. If someone asked why you feel so comfortable in this new place, you might struggle to find words. There's no logical reason, no prior connection you can identify, and yet the feeling persists, undeniable and strangely reassuring. Science offers us several explanations for this phenomenon, each fascinating in its own way. Memory misattribution is one possibility. Sometimes the brain borrows the emotional quality from one memory and attaches it to a new experience. The new place might share subtle qualities with somewhere you felt safe as a child. The angle of the light, the smell in the air, the ambient sounds, all might echo something your unconscious mind remembers, even if your conscious mind has long forgotten. Predictive processing is another piece of this puzzle. Your mind is always predicting what comes next, based on everything you've ever experienced. It's constantly building models of reality, guessing what you'll see when you turn a corner, what you'll hear when you open a door, what you'll feel when you step into a new space. Sometimes those predictions create familiarity before logic can catch up. Your brain has processed so many similar environments that it can accurately predict the general feel of a new one. And when reality matches the prediction, you feel calm, even though you've never been there before. The hippocampus, deep in your brain, sends out familiarity signals constantly. This ancient structure, named for its resemblance to a seahorse, is crucial for memory formation and spatial navigation. It's checking new input against old patterns, looking for matches, for safety, for understanding. Every new experience flows through the hippocampus, where it's compared against a vast library of past experiences. Usually, this process helps you navigate the world efficiently. You don't have to relearn how to open a door every time you encounter one. You don't have to figure out how to walk downstairs each time you face a staircase. But occasionally, the hippocampus finds a match that isn't quite there. Or perhaps it's recognizing a pattern so subtle that your conscious mind hasn't noticed it yet. The architecture of the space, the social dynamics, the ambient energy, all might fit templates your brain knows well, even in a supposedly new context. The brain doesn't always label where a feeling comes from. It simply offers the feeling itself, like a gift with no card attached. You receive the sensation of familiarity, and your conscious mind must decide what story to tell about it. Maybe it's a false positive in your recognition system. Maybe it's your brain being overly generous with its pattern matching, finding similarities where they're minimal. This is the conventional explanation, and it's perfectly reasonable. But maybe it's something else. Maybe your brain is recognizing patterns that exist at a level too deep for conscious awareness. Maybe there are rhythms and structures in reality that repeat in ways we don't fully understand, and your nervous system is sensitive to these repetitions. Or maybe, just maybe, some part of you has walked this path before, in ways consciousness cannot track. Perhaps in dreams that faded upon waking. Perhaps in moments of imagination so vivid they left traces in your nervous system. Perhaps in ways that science hasn't yet developed the tools to measure. The feeling remains mysterious, hovering between the explained and the unexplainable. And that's okay. Not everything needs to be understood to be appreciated. What matters is the experience itself, the gift of feeling at home in a new place, the unexpected ease that allows you to move through unfamiliar territory with confidence, the sense that you're not quite as lost as you might think. Let your breathing continue, slow and rhythmic. Let your body sink a little deeper into whatever supports it. There's a comfort in not knowing, in allowing mystery to exist alongside explanation. The third sign, strong intuition without anxiety. Sometimes you simply know something without knowing how you know it. And unlike anxiety, which grips and demands and insists, this knowing is peaceful. It doesn't shout at you. It doesn't flood your body with adrenaline or set your heart racing. It doesn't come with a sense of urgency or panic. Instead, it settles into your awareness with quiet confidence. You might be facing a decision, weighing options, considering different paths forward. Your logical mind is busy analyzing pros and cons, building arguments for and against each choice. And then, underneath all that mental activity, there's a simple knowing, a clear sense of which way to go. This intuition doesn't argue with your logic. It doesn't try to override your reasoning. It simply exists alongside it, patient and certain, waiting for you to notice. Scientists describe this as subconscious pattern recognition, and it's one of the most remarkable capabilities of the human brain. Your mind processes far more information than ever reaches conscious awareness. Your eyes take in millions of details every moment, but you're only consciously aware of a tiny fraction of what you see. The same is true for everything you hear, smell, feel, and experience. Most of it is processed beneath the threshold of consciousness. Your brain is constantly absorbing, analyzing, categorizing, learning from an ocean of data that you'll never consciously remember. And from all that hidden data, your subconscious can form conclusions. It can detect patterns that your conscious mind would need hours or days to work out. It can see connections across vast arrays of information, finding the thread that ties everything together. Daniel Kahneman, the Nobel Prize-winning psychologist, called this system one thinking. He distinguished it from System 2, the slow, deliberate, conscious reasoning that we typically associate with thinking. System 1 is fast, automatic, intuitive. It operates beneath awareness, delivering conclusions without showing its work. You can't trace the steps of System 1 reasoning because it doesn't work in steps. It works holistically, processing everything at once, arriving at answers through paths that consciousness cannot follow. This is the compression of past experience into instant understanding. You've lived through thousands of situations, made countless decisions, observed endless interactions. All of that learning, all those experiences, get compressed and encoded in your neural networks. Years of observation condense into a single moment of knowing. Decades of accumulated wisdom surface as a simple gut feeling. Your mind has been watching, learning, absorbing, even when you weren't paying attention. Especially when you weren't paying attention. And now it offers you the result of all that silent processing, not as a detailed report with supporting evidence, but as a feeling, a sense, a quiet certainty. Sometimes intuition is just wisdom arriving early, before you can explain it, before you can justify it to yourself or others. The answer is already there, waiting patiently for your conscious mind to catch up. This isn't mystical, at least not in the supernatural sense. It's the natural result of having a brain that processes information on multiple levels simultaneously. It's the gift of evolution, which designed our minds to work both consciously and unconsciously, giving us access to both careful analysis and rapid insight. Or perhaps it is mystical, in a different sense. Perhaps the line between the deeply natural and the mystical is thinner than we usually think. Perhaps anything complex and beautiful and not fully understood deserves a sense of reverence, regardless of whether it can be explained by neuroscience. Either way, this knowing without anxiety is worth noticing, worth paying attention to, worth learning to distinguish from the louder, more insistent voices of fear and worry. Anxiety often masquerades as intuition. It arrives with a sense of certainty, a feeling that something is wrong or dangerous. But anxiety comes with physical tension. It comes with urgency. It comes with a demand that you act now, react now, do something now. True intuition is different. It's calm. It's patient. It doesn't need you to act immediately. It's willing to wait while you think things through, while you gather more information, while you consult with others. Intuition without anxiety is a signal worth trusting, at least enough to listen. It might not always be right, because no system is perfect, but it's often pointing toward something your conscious mind hasn't fully grasped yet. Your body might relax even more now as you consider this. The idea that you have access to wisdom beyond what you can consciously explain. The understanding that you're guided by more than just the thoughts you can articulate. Take another breath, deep and slow. Feel how your intuition might be speaking to you even now in ways too subtle for words. A sense of rightness about this moment. A quiet knowing that it's okay to rest, to wonder, to let understanding come in its own time. The fourth sign, dreams that feel observational. Some dreams place you in the center of wild narratives. You're running from something or flying or discovering that you forgot to study for an important exam. These dreams are vivid, emotional, sometimes chaotic. You wake from them with your heart pounding, your emotions stirred, your mind trying to make sense of the strange story it just experienced. But then there are the other kind of dreams. The dreams where you're simply present, observing a scene that unfolds without your participation. You're not the main character. You're not driving the action. You're just watching with curious detachment as events play out. In these dreams, you might see yourself from the outside, as if you're watching a movie in which you're one of the actors. Or you might observe situations that don't involve you at all. Conversations between people you know or people you've never met. Scenes from places you've been or places that exist nowhere but in the dream. There's often a strange clarity to these observational dreams. The emotions are muted. You're not afraid or excited or anxious. You're simply witnessing, taking in information, watching with a quality of attention that feels different from your usual dream experience. REM simulation theory suggests that dreams are the brain's way of running scenarios, testing possibilities, exploring variations of reality in a safe space where consequences don't apply. While you sleep, your mind creates simulations of different situations, working through potential outcomes, preparing you for futures that may or may not actually arrive. This happens most intensely during REM sleep, when your brain is nearly as active as it is when you're awake. Your eyes move rapidly beneath your closed lids, tracking the dream images. Your brain waves look almost identical to waking brain waves, but your body is paralyzed, kept still by specialized neurons in your brainstem, so you don't act out the dreams physically. During this state, your mind is free to explore, free to simulate, free to play with possibilities without any of the constraints or consequences of waking reality. Memory replay happens throughout sleep, especially during REM. Your mind reviews the day, the week, the year, your entire life, sorting and storing and making sense of it all. Experiences that seemed random or disconnected during waking hours get woven into larger patterns. Events get consolidated into long-term memory. Emotions get processed and integrated. But the brain doesn't just replay memories exactly as they happened. It remixes them. It combines elements from different times and places. It creates new scenarios by blending fragments of actual experience with imagination and possibility. Mental rehearsal is another function of dreaming. Your brain practices situations it might encounter. It prepares responses to challenges you might face. It works through interpersonal dynamics, problem-solving strategies, creative solutions. Athletes dream about their sports. Musicians dream about their instruments. Anyone learning a new skill will often dream about practicing that skill, and research shows that this dream practice actually improves real-world performance. These observational dreams might be your mind showing you something important, but not through the usual dream language of symbols and metaphors. Instead of encoding messages in bizarre imagery, these dreams might be offering you a different perspective on your own life and experiences. When you observe yourself from outside, you can see patterns that are invisible from the inside. You can notice how you respond to certain situations. You can see the impact of your words and actions on others. You can gain the kind of understanding that only comes from stepping back and viewing the whole picture. Dreams don't come from outside you, but they often show you parts of yourself you haven't met yet. The part of you that's braver than you remember. The part that's already solved a problem you're still worried about. The part that knows you'll be okay, even when your waking mind is full of doubt. In dreams, the boundaries of self become fluid and permeable. You can be observer and observed simultaneously. You can watch your life from outside it, gaining perspective that's impossible during waking hours when you're caught up in the immediacy of experience. And sometimes, in that observation, you see clearly. You understand something that eluded you while awake. You receive guidance that feels like it's coming from somewhere else, from some wiser version of yourself that exists beyond the constraints of ordinary consciousness. But it's just you, the vast, multidimensional you that exists beyond the narrow beam of conscious awareness. The you that encompasses not just your current thoughts and feelings, but all the thoughts and feelings you've ever had, all the experiences you've accumulated, all the wisdom you've gained, even the wisdom you don't consciously remember gaining. These observational dreams might be windows into that larger self, moments when the boundaries thin and you can see more of who you are than you typically allow yourself to see. Or they might be your brain's way of processing and organizing information, nothing more mystical than that. A natural function of sleep, serving the practical purpose of consolidating memory and preparing for the future. Both explanations can be true simultaneously. The mechanical and the meaningful often overlap. The scientific and the spiritual often point to the same truth from different angles. What matters is the experience and what you take from it. If an observational dream leaves you with insight or understanding or peace, then it has served a purpose, regardless of its ultimate source. Let yourself relax even more deeply now. Let the boundary between waking and sleeping become a little softer, a little more permeable. There's no need to force anything. Just allow yourself to drift in that pleasant space between full alertness and sleep. The fifth sign, sudden perspective shifts. One day, something you cared deeply about simply feels lighter. The weight that seemed permanent, that you carried for so long you stopped noticing it, suddenly isn't there anymore. No decision was made. No revelation occurred. You didn't sit down and consciously choose to let go of this burden. You didn't have a breakthrough in therapy or a profound conversation that changed everything. You just wake up one morning, or look up from your work in the middle of an ordinary afternoon, and realize that the thing that used to occupy so much of your mental and emotional energy doesn't hold the same charge anymore. What felt urgent now feels optional. What felt defining, like it would always be central to your identity, now feels temporary, like a phase you're moving through rather than a permanent condition. The relationship that seemed impossible to live without no longer has that grip on you. The career achievement that felt necessary for your self-worth no longer carries that weight. The approval you were seeking, the standard you were trying to meet, the fear that kept you small, all of it loosens its hold. This is identity updating in action, and it's one of the most fascinating processes your brain performs. Your sense of self is not fixed. It's not carved in stone. It's constantly being revised, refined, rebuilt by your brain, usually without any conscious awareness that the rebuilding is happening. You are not the same person you were 10 years ago. You're not even the same person you were last year. Your cells have been replaced. Your neural connections have been rewired. Your memories have been reconsolidated, subtly changing each time you recall them. Your values have shifted. Your priorities have evolved. But these changes usually happen so gradually that you don't notice them. You experience yourself as continuous, as the same person moving through time, even though nearly everything about you is constantly changing. Narrative self-theory explains how we are the stories we tell about ourselves. Your identity is not a fixed thing that exists independently. It's a narrative, a story you construct and reconstruct continuously, making sense of your experiences, connecting your past to your present, projecting your future. And sometimes, quietly without announcement, the story changes. A chapter ends. A new chapter begins. The protagonist, still recognizably you, nevertheless shifts in fundamental ways. Your brain is always pruning outdated priorities, letting go of what no longer serves your current needs and goals. Neural pathways that aren't used regularly get weakened. Connections that supported old patterns of thinking and behavior get gradually dismantled. Meanwhile, new pathways form, strengthening the patterns that serve who you're becoming. This neurological housekeeping happens automatically. You don't have to consciously direct it. Your brain knows which connections to keep and which to let fade, based on what you actually use, what you actually need, what actually serves your survival and well-being. This can feel sudden, but it's usually the result of countless small shifts happening beneath awareness. Each day, each experience, each choice you make, each thought you think, subtly rewires your brain. The changes are too small to notice individually, but they accumulate, compound, build on each other. Until one day, the accumulation becomes visible. You cross some threshold, and suddenly you can perceive what's been happening all along. The perspective shift that feels sudden is really the culmination of a long, slow transformation. Growth can feel like a message, even when it's just you evolving. The old you releasing its grip, the new you stepping forward with quiet inevitability. There's no fanfare, no dramatic announcement, just a gentle, persistent movement toward becoming whoever you're meant to be next. You might wonder where this shift came from. When your conscious mind didn't choose it, when you weren't actively working toward it, it can feel like wisdom arrived from outside. Like some other version of you, one who's already walked this path, one who's already learned this lesson, is whispering guidance across whatever boundary separates different stages of life. Maybe that's exactly what's happening. Maybe the future you, the wiser you, the you who's already let go of what you're still holding, is somehow in communication with the you of now. Not literally, perhaps, but through the way your brain projects forward, imagining futures, preparing for what's coming. Your mind is always simulating possible futures. It's testing different versions of yourself, trying them on, seeing how they feel. And sometimes, one of those future versions becomes clear enough, real enough, compelling enough that your current self begins to move toward it. The shift in perspective might be your present self catching up to where your deeper mind has already gone. The conscious, you finally noticing what the unconscious you has been working toward all along. Or maybe growth itself is the message. Maybe the universe, or your own deep nature. Or the fundamental tendency of complex systems to evolve and adapt is gently moving you forward. Not forcing, never forcing, but creating conditions that make growth the path of least resistance. Either way, these sudden perspective shifts are worth honoring. They're worth pausing to acknowledge. Something has changed. You have changed. And even if you can't explain exactly how or why, you can appreciate the transformation. Take a moment now to notice any such shifts in your own life. Are there things that used to matter deeply that now feel lighter? Are there beliefs you held that no longer seem true? Are there fears that have loosened their grip? You don't have to understand the mechanism. You don't have to know why it happened. You can simply acknowledge that it has happened and feel grateful for the freedom that comes with letting go. The sixth sign, moments of this matters without knowing why. You're walking down a street, or reading a sentence in a book, or hearing a snippet of conversation, and suddenly there's a sense of significance. Your attention sharpens. Something in you recognizes importance, even though you can't articulate what's important about this particular moment. You don't feel excited or afraid. There's no strong emotion attached. Just a quiet sense of meaning, a subtle but unmistakable feeling that this moment should be remembered, that something about it is relevant in ways you don't yet understand. You might be in the middle of an ordinary day, doing ordinary things when this happens. You're not looking for signs or seeking profound experiences. You're just living, moving through the world, and then this moment flags itself. Your rational mind might dismiss it. Just a random feeling, you think. Nothing special about this. But the sense of significance persists, gentle but insistent, like a bookmark placed in the story of your life. Neuroscience points to the salience network for this phenomenon. This is a system in your brain, involving structures like the anterior cingulate cortex and the anterior insula, dedicated to detecting what's important, what deserves attention, what should be remembered. The salience network is constantly monitoring your experience, deciding what matters and what doesn't. Most of what you encounter gets filtered out, deemed irrelevant, allowed to pass through awareness without leaving a trace. But occasionally, something triggers this network, and a moment gets marked as significant. Dopamine tagging happens when your brain marks an experience as important. Dopamine, often simplified as the pleasure chemical, actually serves a more complex function. It's a signal that something is salient, that it's worth paying attention to and remembering. When dopamine gets released in response to an experience, that experience gets chemically highlighted in your brain. It's more likely to be encoded into long-term memory. It's more likely to influence your future decisions. It becomes a reference point, something your brain will return to when trying to understand similar situations. Sometimes this tagging process is obvious. You achieve a goal you've been working toward, and dopamine floods your system, reinforcing the behaviors that led to success. You encounter a threat, and dopamine helps ensure you remember the danger so you can avoid it in the future. But other times, dopamine tagging happens for reasons that aren't immediately clear. Your brain marks a moment as significant, but your conscious mind doesn't know why. You just feel it, that sense of importance, without understanding. Future-oriented cognition is always running in the background of your awareness. Your mind is constantly preparing for what's coming, even when you don't consciously know what's coming next. This is a fundamental function of human consciousness. We don't just experience the present moment. We're always looking ahead, anticipating, predicting, preparing. Our brains are prediction machines, constantly building models of future scenarios. And in building these models, your brain picks up patterns. It senses trajectories. It sees where you're heading before you've consciously chosen the direction. It might notice that the random book you picked up contains information you're going to need in 3 months for a project you haven't even conceived of yet. It might recognize that the person you just passed on the street will become important in your life, even though you didn't speak to them and have no logical reason to think you'll ever see them again. Your deeper mind tracks patterns across time in ways that conscious awareness cannot. It sees the connections between what's happening now and what's likely to happen later. And when something aligns with a future pattern, when something fits into a trajectory your conscious mind hasn't mapped yet, you get this signal. Pay attention, this matters. Your mind quietly prepares you for futures, long before you arrive. It's gathering tools you'll need. It's marking landmarks you'll recognize later. It's leaving breadcrumbs for your future self to follow back to this moment. So when you feel that sense of importance without explanation, when a moment flags itself for no reason you can name, trust it. Your deeper intelligence is speaking. The part of you that sees further than your conscious mind, that processes more information than you can keep track of, that understands patterns too complex for linear thinking. Maybe it's neurochemistry, explainable entirely by the mechanics of attention and memory. Maybe it's intuition, that mysterious knowing that we can describe but never fully explain. Maybe it's another version of you, one who's already lived this moment in some parallel timeline, sending back confirmation. Yes, this is important. Remember this. The explanation matters less than the experience, less than your willingness to notice these moments, to honor them, even without understanding them fully. You might find yourself thinking back to such moments later, sometimes years later, and suddenly understanding why they mattered. The significance that was opaque at the time becomes crystal clear in retrospect. The thing you needed to remember becomes relevant in ways you never could have predicted. Or you might never understand consciously, but still benefit from having paid attention. The moment becomes part of your internal guidance system, one more data point in the vast unconscious map your brain maintains, helping you navigate future choices and possibilities. Let yourself be open to these moments. Don't dismiss them just because they don't come with explanations. Some of the most important information arrives without labels, without justification, without apparent logic. Your rational mind is a valuable tool, but it's not the only tool you have. Sometimes you need to trust the systems that operate beneath rationality, the ancient wisdom of a brain that's been evolving for millions of years, learning to navigate complexity and uncertainty. Breathe slowly, relax more deeply. Feel how your body knows things your mind is still working to understand. Feel how awareness itself contains more than thoughts can capture. The seventh sign, a feeling that you'll be okay. This might be the quietest sign of all. A deep, settled knowing that whatever happens, you'll navigate it, you'll endure, you'll find your way through. It's not based on evidence or circumstances. Your life might be genuinely difficult at the moment. You might be facing real challenges with uncertain outcomes. The future might be genuinely unclear, and all the logical analysis in the world might not be able to tell you how things will turn out. But underneath all the uncertainty, underneath the worry and the planning and the legitimate concerns, there's this bedrock of calm. This fundamental sense that you'll be okay. It doesn't mean everything will work out exactly as you hope. It doesn't promise that you won't face pain or loss or disappointment. It's not a guarantee of a specific outcome. It's something deeper than that. A sense that regardless of what happens, you have what it takes to meet it. That you've survived every difficult moment in your life so far, and you'll survive whatever comes next. That you're more resilient, more capable, more resourceful than you often give yourself credit for. This is emotional regulation at its most sophisticated. Your nervous system finding equilibrium. Your mind creating stability even in the midst of uncertainty and change. The nervous system has multiple modes. There's the sympathetic activation of stress and threat, the fight-or-flight response that prepares you for danger. There's the parasympathetic mode of rest and digest, where your body recovers and repairs. And there's a more subtle state, sometimes called the ventral vagal state, where you feel safe and connected even in the face of challenges. This ventral vagal state is characterized by a sense of fundamental okayness. You can acknowledge difficulties while maintaining an underlying sense of safety. You can face uncertainty while feeling grounded. You can move through challenges without being overwhelmed by them. When this system is functioning well, it provides a kind of baseline stability that doesn't depend on external circumstances. You carry this sense of okayness with you, and it becomes a resource you can draw on when things get hard. Long-term self-continuity is a concept from psychology that relates to this. It's the understanding that you persist through time, that the you of tomorrow will still be you, even though circumstances will have changed, that you've survived every difficult moment so far, and statistically, you're very likely to continue surviving. This isn't denial or toxic positivity. It's not about pretending that bad things don't happen or that pain isn't real. It's about recognizing your own continuity, your own capacity to adapt and endure and find meaning even in difficult circumstances. You've been through hard times before. You've faced disappointments, losses, failures, pain, and you're still here, still moving forward, still capable of joy and connection and growth. That track record means something. It's evidence of your resilience, even if you don't always feel resilient. It's proof of your capacity to navigate difficulty, even when navigation feels impossible in the moment. Psychological safety signals come from deep in the brain, from systems that evolved to help our ancestors survive in a dangerous world. These systems are constantly assessing, am I safe? Do I belong? Can I handle what's in front of me? And when these systems send signals of safety, when they tell you that yes, fundamentally, you're okay, it creates a sense of calm that exists independently of your circumstances. This can happen even when logic suggests you should be anxious. Your situation might be genuinely uncertain. The outcome might be unclear. But some deep part of you, some part that knows more than your thinking mind, sends the signal, you're okay. When these signals of fundamental okayness activate without external reason, it can feel mysterious. It can feel like a message from beyond, like reassurance arriving from somewhere you can't name or identify. If another version of you existed, perhaps in a parallel universe where you made different choices, faced different circumstances, walked a different path, perhaps the message wouldn't be words or images or specific advice. Perhaps the message would be exactly this: a feeling, a knowing, a sense that crosses whatever boundaries might separate different versions of reality, a reassurance that persists regardless of which path you've taken. Because maybe, in some deep sense, all versions of you are okay. All paths lead somewhere. All choices can be navigated. All futures contain the possibility of meaning and growth and connection. Or maybe this is just the wisdom of your own nervous system, evolved over millions of years specifically to help you persist, to help you endure, to help you find peace even in chaos and uncertainty. Evolution wouldn't have given you a nervous system that only functions when everything is perfect. It gave you a nervous system designed to work in difficulty, to find stability in instability, to create meaning in uncertainty. This capacity for fundamental okayness is part of your evolutionary inheritance. It's a gift from countless ancestors who survived countless challenges, who found ways to keep going even when the future was unclear, who passed on not just their genes but their resilience, their capacity to endure. So when you feel this deep sense that you'll be okay, you're drawing on something ancient and profound. Something that connects you not just to other possible versions of yourself, but to the entire lineage of human beings who learned to face uncertainty with courage and hope. Either way, whether this feeling comes from neurobiology or from something more mysterious, whether it's purely mechanical or somehow transcendent, the feeling itself is real. The reassurance is genuine. The sense of fundamental okayness is something you can trust. And tonight, right now, in this moment, you can rest in it. You can let it hold you. You can allow yourself to believe it, even if you don't understand it, even if you can't explain it. Let your body relax completely now. Let every muscle soften. Let your breathing slow to its own natural rhythm without any effort or control. Let your mind drift where it wants to drift. Thoughts might come and go. Images might surface and fade. That's okay. You don't need to hold on to anything or push anything away. There's nowhere you need to go. Nothing you need to figure out. No problem that requires solving right now, in this moment. You are held by something larger than yourself. Maybe it's the universe. Maybe it's the deep wisdom of your own nervous system. Maybe it's love, flowing through everything, connecting everything, supporting everything. Maybe it's other versions of you, reaching across the boundaries of possibility, sending reassurance, saying, I made it through. You will too. We're all okay. Or maybe it's simpler than that. Maybe it's just the truth of this moment. Right now, in this breath, in this heartbeat, you are okay. And that's enough. Let sleep come closer if it's ready. Let peace settle over you like snow falling on a quiet field, covering everything in gentle white, softening all the edges, making everything still and calm and beautiful. Let yourself trust that tomorrow will come with its own wisdom, its own guidance, its own gifts. But tonight is not for tomorrow. Tonight is for rest. For releasing the day. For letting go of all the questions that don't have answers yet. For allowing mystery to be mysterious and meaning to reveal itself in its own time. You are more than you think you are. Deeper, more connected, more vast, more resilient, more held. And whatever messages are passing through consciousness, through time, through possibility itself, through the vast network of being that connects all things, one message is absolutely clear. You are okay. You have always been okay. You will continue to be okay. Not because everything is perfect, not because life is easy, but because you carry within you an unshakable capacity to meet whatever comes, to find meaning in it, to grow through it, to continue becoming whoever you're meant to be. Rest now. Let the wondering pause. Let the thinking wait. Let everything soften and settle and become still. Tomorrow can take care of itself. Tonight, just rest, just breathe, just be. You are held, you are guided, you are exactly where you need to be. Everything is unfolding as it should. Everything is moving toward something, even when you can't see what that something is. Trust the journey, trust the process, trust yourself. And rest.